Welcome to Tesseract Talks, the place where we put the spotlight on tech trends and the ideas shaping the future of business and technology. I'm your host, Marko, the founder and CEO of Tesseract Analytics. And today's conversation focuses on something most people rarely think about, but which quietly powers the global economy, and that is the supply chain. As AI becomes increasingly central to how organizations forecast, automate, and optimize operations, one challenge continues to stand out. AI is only as good as the data feeding it. Our guest today is Rodrigo Castro, president of Adaptive Pallet Solutions, a company taking an unconventional approach to supply chain modernization by transforming one of the most overlooked yet essential assets in logistics into a source of real time data and intelligence. Rodrigo, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Marco. Pleasure to be here.
Well, let's jump straight into it. When people talk about AI in supply chains, the conversation often starts with software and algorithms. But from your perspective, the real challenge begins much earlier with the quality and availability of data itself. Why is better supply chain data becoming such a critical issue
No,
today?
it's a great question. I think everyone right now is racing to integrate AI into their supply chain. But the thing is that AI itself doesn't have an intelligence problem. It really has a data problem. You've got these companies that for years have been spending billions of dollars digitizing the top of the supply chain, whether that's your ERP systems, your warehouse management systems, TMS, and so on and so forth. But at the foundation of these systems, it's still all running on estimated data, whether that's forecasts, assumptions, or industry average from research. When the actual physical reality of the product is not really being tracked at all, and so you don't actually know how things move in real time through the network. You've got all the sophisticated software that you're spending billions of dollars on, but you don't actually know what happened. While everyone agrees that AI is transformative, it's if AI is a car, a Ferrari specifically, most supply chains are putting, regular gas in it, which is a no-go. And so the premium fuel that you should be putting in is real-time ground truth about your own system. And right now, most companies don't have that.
I love that metaphor. Supply chains became increasingly automated and digitally connected, yet much of the physical infrastructure still operates with limited visibility. Where do you see the biggest blind spots organizations face when trying to build truly intelligent supply chain?
We really believe the blind spot is really at the bottom of the stack. We've sort of instrumented everything
Mhm.
from the top down. Your truck has GPS, the trailer has telematics, but really the one thing that's touching every single product and moving with it throughout the entire life cycle has remained completely analog and dumb. It's not communicating. And so you have this super important asset that, I mean, you're talking about 80 to 90% of commerce moves on a pallet. 80 to 90% of all goods touching this one thing, and it's completely invisible. Um, it's touching every node of the network and not really telling you what's going on with the thing that you care most about moving, which is your product. And we're basically saying, why aren't we running a diagnostic test on this thing that is carrying your most important product? If you think about it, if you were to check in on the health of a human body, you would run a blood test. The pallet effectively
Mhm.
functions as the blood cell of the supply chain, where it travels through the whole system. And so by embedding technology into it and giving it the ability to see, feel, and communicate back to you, you're effectively able to do the same and check in on the health of your own
Mhm.
supply chain. And right now, we're not doing that. We're digitizing everywhere else, but the blind spot is really at the foundation. And so we wholeheartedly believe that's where the real signal lives, and the biggest ROI for modernizing companies is, remains to be captured.
One of the ideas I found particularly interesting is that the pallet, an asset involved in moving the majority of goods globally, has historically remained almost entirely analog, despite being present across every stage of the supply chain. What made you recognize that this was the missing layer of intelligence?
I think when you walk through enough warehouses, you start to notice patterns. Everywhere I go, I notice where pallets are. You look down an alleyway, and you just see them laying around. We just sort of took a step back and looked at where are logistics, where are supply chains going? I think in the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to be certainly more automated. And number two, they're going to be more data driven and AI enabled. When you look at the entire
Mhm.
asset stack, you really have every other asset being instrumented to fit into those two themes, except for the palette. Why hasn't that happened?
Mhm.
And nobody had thought of really doing it, which shocked us, and at least not on par with where other areas of the supply chain are technologically. And that's a lot because pallets are seen as disposable, right? It's just a piece of wood and you stick your goods on, forklift puts it in the truck, and then at the end of life, you really don't care what happens to it. Um, but when you actually look at what the pallet does, it is the most interconnected asset in your supply chain. It's in every truck, it's in every warehouse, it's in every DC, every cross dock, every store. It's always there. And so if you're going to monitor the condition of your goods, you don't want to do it from a monitor that's like 20 feet away. You want it on the thing that it's physically touching. It wasn't really a logistics problem waiting to be solved. It was more of a data opportunity that was hiding in plain sight. And the
Mhm.
thing is, you'll hear folks in the pallet industry says, "Well, we have RFID on pallets," and I personally push back on that. What an RFID chip tells you is that a pallet passed through a reader or a gateway at the dock door. That's a scan. That's not intelligence. I mean, it's like knowing someone walked in through your front door versus knowing what the heart rate, body temperature, and status and location of someone has been for the past 72 hours. To give you another analogy is you've got people saying, hey, I have a landline, I can call people. And we're coming at this saying, well, look, there's smartphones out there. Like we should be probably moving towards that. And that's just an honest look at, an industry that's been pretty slow to adapt with innovation, certainly compared to a lot of other areas of the supply chain. I mean, you have robotics everywhere, software, but the palette is kind of stuck in the past, and we're really looking to bring it into the 21st century.
The adaptive pallet solutions is doing more than leasing
Mm,
pallets. You're creating an intelligence layer through sensing and analytics. How does this approach help companies move from reactive logistics management toward real time operational decision making?
right? It completely shifts the conversation. I mean, the current model right now is something goes wrong, and you find out maybe a couple days later when a shipment comes in, and you do a full investigation. And what we're doing is sort of flipping the narrative to saying, you now have an opportunity to react to these things in real time. And so you have these pallets that
Mhm.
have embedded motor grade sensors capturing location, temperature, humidity, shock, whether the pallet is loaded when a forklift picks it up. Really high value, high signal data that is going to give you a live view of where everything is at any given point in time. And you're going to be able to know if anything is outside of your preferences, right? All of this is customizable. And so you're talking about being able to flag raspberries spoiling in real time, not 3 days later
Mhm.
when you check the package, you're like, okay, this is rotten, right? You now have an opportunity to connect with the driver and say, hey, your reefer just went down, temperatures are spiking, all your products can be compromised. Please reroute, and here's the location to go to. That is proactive. Um, and the best part is that as this data compounds, the system gets to know you better. And that's where you can layer in AI to move from not just proactive, but also preventative and predictive, where you understand historical trends of spoilage, of theft, of, dwell times for your products across different lanes at a much more granular level. And you can actually foresee problems before they happen. That is the future of supply chains, is being able to move faster, giving operators really a choice they've never had before, and being able to document exactly what's happening rather than playing the blame game. I mean, even just for insurance conversations where someone says it was someone else's fault, everyone just kind of points the finger at each other. Now you're introducing a really powerful accountability mechanism.
Many organizations are pursuing AI ambitions across logistics and operations, but AI requires high quality ground level data to deliver meaningful outcomes. From what you're seeing with customers and pilots today, what changes when organizations finally gain that level of
Mhm.
visibility?
Well, I would tell you the first thing that changes is the conversation. When you introduce ground level truth into a discussion, one, you're going to start seeing people become a lot more honest a lot quicker, because there's actually evidence to support whether someone was in the wrong and someone wasn't. So the relationship between operators, their carriers, their employees, their insurance providers totally changes when now all of a sudden you introduce data and you have more visibility over what actually happened, not what other people are telling you happened or what you think happened. So that would be the first thing, is it introduces accountability, and that inherently changes how conversations flow. The second piece is really the economics and the ROI for operators. When
Mhm.
you are able to basically light up your foundational asset in the supply chain, you're able to see a lot more things. When you see a lot more things, you are able to make better decisions. And so you can actually start seeing where true cost leakage is happening. Which lanes are my raspberries spoiling more frequently in? Is there a pattern in the carrier that I use? Are there any practices that this distribution center is espousing that allow it to perform so much better across these key metrics that this one isn't, despite moving the same product? You're able to get a lot more granular on what your problems are and actually being able to make better decisions as a consequence. Again, if you see more, you can make better decisions. And that's really what we're enabling here. And I think the third thing really is that all this data becomes a training set. And so every temperature reading, every dwell event, every shock event, your AI system is only going to get smarter and smarter over time. And that's what's going to enable this predictive supply chain. The future state of this is really managing your supply chain based on what's actually happened, not what you think is happening.
And that's actually touching upon my next question. Looking ahead, as AI and automation become more deeply embedded across supply chains, where do you see this evolving over the next few years?
We think about that one a lot. We look ahead to the next like 5, 10, 15 years. As I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
two things are going to be true. The winning supply chains are going to be those that are most operationally efficient. The two biggest drivers of that are going to be automation and then AI and data analytics enablement. And so the future of this is more interconnected and more data driven. And for that, on the physical layer, you want to automate more, you need precision. Wood pallets are not
Mhm.
precise. They are made of wood. Wood is dimensionally inconsistent. It's not durable. It's not really sustainable. And not only that, if you introduce water or a mold or anything like that, it only strays further from the consistency you need to run robots, which like precision. Plastic solves that. Now, on the predictive front, on the interconnected front, when the pallet has a brain and is able to communicate what's happening to it, now we can look at situations where it starts communicating with other robots in the warehouse. So pallet is arriving, it has a product that likely is damaged. It can automatically communicate with the forklift to say, hey, pick me up and take me to the inspection area. I have a 98% chance of having been damaged in transit. And so you want to isolate me. Or if it's food, put me in this area. to be inspected to see if I can be put on the shelf or not. For us, that's really exciting because what we've built today is really just V1. It's going to be kind of like an iPhone, right? The first iPhone looks very different from the iPhone 17 we have today. We're going to be continuously iterating, getting smarter, making more capable, more intelligent pallets. And the most fun part of this all is that we're working with our clients to define what future versions look like. And so we don't really, like you said, look at ourselves as a pallet leasing company. We're really a supply chain technology company where the data and the visibility that we provide is delivered through the pallet because it is this immensely interconnected device that 90% of all goods travel on and sees the whole life cycle. So it's the right asset to sort of light up and build intelligence on top of. We're laying the foundation, and we're excited to be on the cutting edge of an industry that a lot of people don't really think about.
Rodrigo, this has been a fascinating conversation. Before our talk, you told me that after I won't look at the pallets the same way, and that's for sure. Now, every time I'll be in a shop or in an alley when I see a pallet, I'll be thinking about
There
the
you
data
go.
points. Great. And what stands out is that the future of AI in supply chain is not simply about more software or more automation. It is about creating better visibility and building intelligence into the physical systems that move goods around the world. I just want to thank you again for joining us today and sharing your perspective. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in to Tesseract Talks. Stay with us as we continue exploring the technologies and ideas shaping the future of business and innovation.
Thank you for having me, Marco.
Bye.
Cheers.